no money, that's an asshole. It wasn't a phase.
Welcome back to the Senior Citizen Podcast, and today we get to chat with someone who is probably not the most punk rock guest we've had, but he's a dear friend, Stephen Rafferty. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming out. I genuinely respect you so much as a creative, and even though we did not go through cringy emo fiends, in your lifetime, but we will get into your roots. I admire you in your ability to network, to handle the community. You are an amazing photographer. So I want to hear a little bit of your journey, how you got started as a creative and doing all those things that you do.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for having me to be a part of this amazing podcast. I'm so excited. And likewise, you are an amazing talent. And I always love working with you. And, you said I didn't have necessarily the punk rock roots, but I'm going to change that subject there and say I do have some level of that. I am not necessarily a musician per se, but I am a creative director, multimedia creator. I work in various projects within the arts and entertainment industry, and I work with a lot of artists behind the scenes, whether it be as musicians or as podcasters or as creators, which is really cool. And, within that kind of headspace, my roots in terms of how I do my creations, how I work with projects, come from a punk rock / scene, pun intended, kind of background. In terms of my early kind of roots with music, fun fact, I used to play like Little League Baseball, and I used to be with my dad a lot. Still am, obviously not anything difference there. But
that was sounding like R.I.P. Dad.
No, he's still good. We're good. Shout out to the dad. Shout out to my dad. But he used to take me to Little League games a lot, and through Little League, every time the game was over, we would listen to the radio. And this was like late '90s, early 2000s, and there was a radio station in the Broward County / South Florida area called WKPX 88.5, nicknamed Radio X. They just recently changed the name, but they're Radio X for over 20 plus years. I'm going to say the tagline right now. You are listening to WKPX Sunrise, Fort Lauderdale, and all of Broward County. Keep it locked. So I used to listen to a lot of punk rock music, a lot of rock music, a lot of scene music, alternative, all the not mainstream music. I would listen to them. And one of my favorite bands is The Offspring. And I used to listen to a lot of their music, still do. It's awesome. And then I kind of delve into my roots with punk rock, with listening to like other bands like The Misfits, Rancid. There's a band up in Northeast called H2O, which is a great punk band. And then that kind of delved into various artists within the scene, pun intended, again, within that scene of just listening to like My Chemical Romance, listening to 3 Days Grace, listening to Black Tide, like all these different bands, and I got into that. And to be fair, I don't traditionally see myself as like a scene kid per se, but I love all genres of music, and I especially love that hard rock, alternative, punk scene. And I feel like through that energy, that kind of bases my roots to a lot of my creative projects. So punk natured and scene, again, and also just throughout my different media projects.
And I think when you are creative, it's just important to have, an open mind listening to everything, and you have these roots. WKPX will forever hold a very, very special place in my heart, because that's where I started my career, I want to say. I knew it was just a high school thing, but it meant so much to me, and it really did map out everything I did after that. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. In the moment, it was just like, this is fun.
Yeah.
That's where I discovered ska music. I discovered Streetlight Manifesto at WKPX, and I have been obsessed my entire life since.
They're great. They're great.
When you were saying your dad would take you to Little League games, I'm like, there's nothing more Midwest emo or pop punk than baseball.
Right?
Like, it goes hand in hand.
Absolutely. It's an American tradition.
Yeah, and Midwest emo is just, for every angsty little teenager. I want to go to Little League listening to modern baseball.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. I listened to like that and like a Wheatus with like Teenage Dirtbag, in the corner, just listening to that, and that was cool.
You mentioned you really like Offspring too.
Yeah.
And I was in my bowling club. You just mentioned all the things from like my high school days.
Perfect.
I was in a bowling club, and at the place, like, other high school kids were working there, and at some point somebody asked them to put on Pretty Fly for a White Guy.
Yeah.
But I guess they just didn't realize they left it on repeat.
Oh no.
So it played, I want to say, for at least an hour, just on repeat at the bowling alley. So I haven't been able to listen to the song the same way since.
It just gives you that PTSD of like bowling, just that.
I love bowling. Just that day, it was just kind of like, God, can they change it? Like, there's a whole rest of an album.
You could say you were pretty fly for a bowler.
I was pretty fly for a bowler. I had my own shoes. I still have my own shoes.
You have your own shoes.
I have. Don't you think it's gross
I,
to borrow bowling shoes?
oh, I thought you purchased it on your own. No, you just kept those shoes?
No. That's what my mom gave me. She gave me her shoes from when she used to bowl back in like the 90s with my dad.
Ooh.
And they fit me.
Okay.
And I didn't want to use borrowed shoes because that's gross.
That's also gross, yeah.
So I borrowed my mom's shoes, which is not gross.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's fine. We share shoes all the time.
If I had the same size, maybe I could do the same thing. But
Exactly.
you know.
But bowling shoes are not as expensive as you think. They're actually, you can find them for like $40-$50 and just save yourself the headache of having to use some stinky shoes.
That's true. And you could do like scene bowling, like
Emo bowling night.
emo bowling night.
Emo bowling night. I am calling strikers right after we're done.
You should film like the next episode in a bowling alley and have it all.
I'd be
themed.
too distracted. I absolutely love bowling to like my core.
Every time a band like gives like their own recommendations of like favorite bands, you just have someone in the back just like bowling a strike.
You know what? Instead of doing it at a bowling alley, I'm just gonna download all those videos of when like they get a strike or a spare and have that playing here instead of the logo. Just on loop, all the bowling videos.
Yes, right here, absolutely. Make it a segment. I'm just saying.
That'd be fantastic, honestly.
You're fantastic.
Thank you.
This show's fantastic.
Thank you. So you say you take a lot of inspiration from the rock music and your creative directing and whatnot. You work with artists behind the scenes. What are some tips in managing those relationships when you're working with artists? Sometimes when you're working creatively with people, it's easy to butt heads or not see the same vision. So what are some tips you could give in working with others?
Great question. So for me, when you're working with me, whether it be photos, videos, or just kind of spitballing ideas and trying to create a creative project, I try to focus on the mentality of like a video producer where we have like our pre-production, our production, and our post-production. And my goal with that is one, for all parties, whoever's involved, to understand the kind of creative direction that we have, to allow that creativity from all parties and try to like centralize it as much as possible, but then also making sure that all talent are working with each other in a comfortable and professional manner. And I think the number one thing is just having a level of professionalism, because it is your reputation online. Because yes, you could be really kind of creative and you can have these cool ideas, but if you're having a hard time working with others, or you're having a hard time trying to express ideas and it's coming more where you just said, butting heads, I understand it could be creative differences sometimes, but if you continue that line and you don't reflect on yourself on there, you're going to have a lot of long-term issues, and that can lead to some potential issues of potentially getting like blacklisted in the industry, whether it be in a creative direction or whether it be in a professional direction, or just be having these reputations of not in a negative nature. So like, you want to have that level of positivity, you want to have a professional reputation, and you want to showcase yourself of what you want others to see for you. A very good friend of mine and professional producer, Barry McQueen, said to me, as when I first worked with him in the fashion industry as a photographer, he kind of showed me the ropes in a lot of ways. One of the things he said was that, be who you want to be when you're not in the room and other people are explaining who you are to others. And I said, that's a really good quote, and it kind of resonates with me. I like to showcase who I am and be true to myself as best as possible, while maintaining that level of integrity and professionalism at all times, which is not easy, but you want to do the best that you can.
But you do. I mean, I've personally worked with you multiple times, and you are a great professional. And I think it falls in the communication aspect of letting people know, even if something as simple as a shoot, you always show, this is what I'm catching. Are we supposed to get something else? What are we seeing? And then also same thing with conduct. Like, it's be respectful. It's not kind of like simple manners, I guess, but common sense ain't so common.
No, it's not. And just having just a level of etiquette, not just to with everyone around, but just with yourself. Like, if you're acting like, inappropriate, or you're acting like a jerk, like, do you really want to be that kind of person in front of people? Like, seriously?
Yeah.
That's not cool. And going back to punk real quick, like, at least for those that are like really into like the punk scene, indie scene, scene, third pun intended, emo scene, like there's a level of mutual respect and etiquette within those kind of sub communities, right? And like for punk, it's like we try to accept everyone of all, you know, all backgrounds, all groups, and we have that level of being cool with each other. But it's the same thing when you cross that line. Okay, you make a mistake, you own up to it, but if you don't make that and you repeat it, then it's like, okay, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, and then etiquette everywhere. Just last night I was at a show, and I like to stand near the front. I know what I'm doing when I stand near the front. If there's a pit opening up, I have my arm out, and if I'm feeling a little crazy, I jump in. But for the most part, I am that person that kind of is the barrier around. And you always see that the people that do start the pits, and they're getting a little rowdy, they're having fun, there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
After the song, they'll turn around, they'll be like, are you okay? I'm sorry. It's like the cutest thing ever. It's like, yeah, dude, I'm fine. I know where I'm standing. If I didn't want to deal with this, I'd go stand over there, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, there are always certain levels of etiquette and rules, unspoken rules to follow. And when you do see people break them, you're like, God, that guy's such an asshole.
Right. Yeah. And like I've been in mosh pits when I was very young, and I don't do it now because pain is pain. But like when I was in mosh pits, there's an etiquette to it. If you're like bashing someone and objectively hurting someone, you're just being a dick.
Yeah, no, and you're not supposed to. That's not part of the game.
It's not part of mosh pit etiquette.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
You learn a lot here on the show, you know. So that's important for me, and just having that there and having that level of responsibility and also that level of just etiquette there. And it's funny you mentioned that you went to a concert last night. I did as well. Would you like to take a guess which concert I went to?
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Okay. I wouldn't say it's punk, but it is very hard rock, very metal. At the time of this recording, I went to see Megadeth.
Wow, yeah. I didn't even know Megadeth was playing this weekend. Oh. So look at that. Megadeth to me has just been a name on my oldest brother's t-shirt who cannot stop listening to Guns N' Roses and Metallica either. But how was that?
Amazing. 10 on 10. Would recommend. He's an incredible player. Very calm when he's playing. It's just kind of magical in a way. And speaking of etiquette, everything was really cool, but there's always one guy. There was that one guy in the stands, and he was dancing a little too much, and he was having too much fun, and he started like bashing into people by accident. And at first it's like, okay, accident, whatever. But then it's like, okay, now you're blatantly doing this. So yes. No, so security and all that. Had a fun time.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I had a great time. Megadeth was great.
I'm glad you had a great time. I was at a local show supporting my friends that were recording a music video.
Oh, nice.
And if it's not out at this point, Fast Walker is probably dropping or has dropped a music video. Go follow them because they are fantastic dudes. Yeah. When I said that guy, I don't know if you go to Disney a lot or have gone in the recent past.
I've only been to Disney one time in my entire life.
No, you need to go again.
I should.
You need to go again.
Can we do a trip? Can we do like a special episode?
Oh my God.
At Disney World?
I can't show these people that I'm a crazy Disney person.
What are you talking about? You're not crazy. You're unique.
I go at least 3 times a year.
3 times a year?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah, I have an annual pass, so got to make the most of it.
That's good. Hey, yeah.
But anyways, there's the Laugh Floor.
Okay.
It's Monsters Inc. themed. Ooh. And you have Mike Wazowski hosting the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's always the same template, but it's so interesting to go on because there's always like different people in the crowd and they pick on people in the crowd and they'll like make light jokes. But there's always that guy. So it'll like, it's the ongoing joke throughout the thing. And when they least expect it, they'll be like, yeah, but not that guy. And they'll show the same dude on the screen because there's a camera pointing down at people in the audience. Mm-hmm. But I just had like a war flashback to that. Like I love the Laugh Floor, but then you're always just sitting there like, oh, God, don't let it point at me for anything. Oh. No, super cool. We went to go see Megadeth. That's actually where did they play?
They played at the amphitheater in West Palm.
I haven't been there since Warped Tour.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I have not been there since Warped Tour. I think it's changed names a couple times too.
Yeah, it's like the I Think Amphitheater now. Yes. So it's a different venue, but it was great. It was cool. I had fun. 10 on 10, recommend. Haven't been to a concert in a while, so it was nice to go. Cause I speaking of like indie artists, I work with a lot of indie talent in both like, you know, punk and rock and hip hop and different genres of music. So I see a lot of indie concerts, which is great, and I love that support because it's very intimate and very small. But it's nice once in a while to go to like a big show. You know what I mean? Just get that experience.
No, and there's certain big shows that just sit in your heart a certain way. That's like, oh my God, I'm gonna remember this forever.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even just recently, I went to go see the Marias, and it was.
Oh
just
yeah,
like,
that's a great band.
Oh, they're in a beautiful live. Beautiful. That woman sounds exactly how she does on the recording, which is so impressive because she has this light, like a fairy voice, and it's like, oh my God, you're magical. But you do have shows that just like engraved into your heart forever. When I saw Paramore last year was again, 10 years ago saw Paramore and Fall Out Boy. Like every Paramore performance is just like living rent free in my mind.
Ooh, that's cool. And I know Fall Out Boy is a great band too.
Fall Out
like
Boy's
they're great
fantastic.
live, yeah.
And they've matured in such a beautiful way. Like I don't know if you've listened to their latest album.
Yeah, I have. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's different from their older stuff, but they just matured. And I mean, the bands that fall to me in that category are also Paramore, Pierce the Veil. They've all managed to keep something consistent in their sound that still makes them them, but they are, you know, trying new stuff, which is what you got to keep on doing in this field.
Yeah, you always have to like adapt and like never stay in one genre per se. I always say the term of like don't put your eggs in one basket. Like experiment a little bit, you know? Like know your core and who you are, but like play around with different ideas and different people and different groups, because sometimes the people that you think, oh, you wouldn't click with might be the best thing for you. So like, or like this experience, maybe like, oh, I never thought I was going to do this, but I realized, oh man, this is amazing. Why haven't I done this sooner? You know?
Yeah, and Paramore did say, it was at the concert actually, where she was breaking down, Haley Williams was breaking down that when they put out their album, Brand New Eyes.
Yeah.
Someone's going to kill me for getting that wrong if
It's
I did.
okay. The comments, just don't grill her, grill me.
I don't remember the name of everything when I'm up here. Like, it's just like, oh, what was that album name? And I genuinely have, like, listened to it for, like, 10 years now. And it's like, oh, God, I don't remember the name of things. But when she made that album, she was like, oh, yeah, this is the heaviest thing. Like, we want to keep, like, getting heavier and playing in metal festivals and, you know, whatever. And in the middle of that album is where you have The Only Exception, which is, like, this little light acoustic pretty song, and that was the one that was like the biggest hit from the album. And to fast forward to today, Paramore's doing like this cool like pop rock funky sound, just adopting so many different sounds that it works for them. They haven't lost who they are, but she also started very young. They all started very young. She started at 16. So as 10 years later, you're going to make something that sounds different. I think you could look back and reflect at your work when you first started in the industry, whether it's photography, whether it's something that you directed, compare it to something you do now. And it's not that you're ashamed of what you did, but you're like, I could have done so much better.
Yeah. Well, I will say everyone starts somewhere. You know, you got to just start. If you're someone listening that's like, oh, I want to start a band or I want to start playing music, just start. You're not going to be the greatest or anything like that, but everyone's got to start somewhere. For me, if I go back, because I've been in the arts and media field for 14 years as of this recording, 15 in April coming up. In that time, I started as a YouTuber, just making probably objectively some of the worst video content parodies and just breaking all technical errors, like just wrong cuts and just music off syncing, terrible commentary. Like I look back and it's just like there was an attempt, it was something, but we can do better, right? But over time, I mean, if I look back in different like genres of media, I say I'm a multimedia creator, and like newer in this conversation, I've been in photography and more in that realm, but I've done videography for over 10 years. But not just that, I was an actor and I was a performer, and I started as a comedian, still do comedy on and off when I want to. But I was doing shows across wherever the Tri-County area would take me and wherever I could, making videos everywhere. And in the early stages of my career, I mean, I was able to break a Guinness World Record, do a TED Talk, wrote 3 books, and that's like one part of my career, which I'm very grateful for. The photography now is newer, and even then with the photography that I've been doing, I've got the chance to work with various media personnel, do sports photography, concert photography, fashion photography, doing all the fashion shows across South Florida and other different states. Like, that's just another chapter of that. I'm in my photo phase right now, but who knows where I'm going to be in 5-10 years.
Right. What was the world record that you broke?
Want to take a guess?
Most jokes told in an hour? I don't know.
That is a world record, but I don't have that one. It's related to my appearance. So for the audience here and the listeners, watching / listening, I'm wearing this attire. My world record is based on that. So take a guess. You also have this part of your appearance as well, Vicky.
Hair length? I don't know.
Okay, hair. It is hair.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you one more guess. It's related to an item that I would put in my hair.
Most clips in a hair?
Okay, that was really good, but close. But
God
not.
damn it. Just told me.
It's okay. So I don't have this record anymore, but I had it for 2.5 years, going on 3 years. I had the Guinness World Record for the most restaurant straws in my hair at one time.
How many was it?
312 straws.
I think you can go back and beat it.
I could, yeah, if I really wanted to. The person that broke it on the UK version of kind of like Good Morning America, basically.
Yes.
It's called Blue Peter, and he broke it with 600 straws. So how I found out he broke it, I was trending on, well, now it's X, but Twitter at the time.
Oh, no, nobody calls it X.
I know.
It's still Twitter.
It's X Twitter, Twit X, yes. The twat, yes.
Did you notice how long it took for like everybody to change the icons?
Yeah.
From the bird to the X. I was vividly watching that. I don't know why it was bothering me.
You think it would be really easy because you're just switching from like one to just a letter, but apparently it's not, and like
No.
it took forever.
Even on TV, it took a little bit. It took longer than it should have.
Yeah.
For when channels put up their socials and stuff or whatever. I don't want that.
This is why I just use MySpace. That's the way to go, you know?
Instagram now lets you put music on your profile.
That's
so
true.
I am going to happily live through that because I did not have a MySpace phase. When I started on social media, I was a Facebook user.
Same.
So I missed out on MySpace.
Yeah.
Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. There could be some very like cringy pictures of me on the internet if I had used MySpace. So we're going to be happy I didn't go on it.
I'm glad I didn't have that phase because I wasn't allowed to have MySpace, but I was allowed to have Facebook. So I started as Facebook there and then just gone down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've done a lot, and it's funny to me, and I love that we're having this chat because I had just scratched the surface. Because in my mind, you were a fashion photographer, right?
That's what a lot of people think I am now, but no, I'm multifaceted. You could say jack of all trades in a lot of ways. So,
well, jack of all trade and master of none.
but it's oftentimes better than the master of one.
Okay.
Which is the full quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and so do you just switch from things that you do because it's kind of a hobby? Like, I'm gonna do this for a little bit. I'm kind of bored of it. I have like slowly discovered, I think I have ADHD as an adult. Okay, so I get bored and then like switch topics very quickly. Mm-hmm. Is that what happens to you when you're figuring out what you want to do? Or is it just kind of like a checklist of things that you've always wanted to get into and you're working your way through it?
So that's also a good question. I think if you ask early career Stephen, he was very much like, I'm gonna do stand-up and I'm gonna try to be the big comedian. And even before that, I wasn't really a stand-up comic, but the two things I wanted to do when I was a kid was to be a computer programmer, actually, so create web development and like coding for different video games. And the second was to be a pro wrestler, which I did do both at one point for a little bit. But then comedy and media came third, but it's the one that stuck the longest. I feel like, not to get all philosophical life and stuff, but I feel like if I have the opportunity to do things that are interesting to me, whether it be as a hobby or to make financial income for, I think it's a win. I always say this quote, and I've said this to you before when we first kind of met. If you're doing something that you love, you've won at life, whether it be a hobby or whatever. If you're doing something that you love and you're making money off that, then it's a double win. But either way, you've won. Unfortunately, there's people and groups of individuals that are going through so many hardships, and I'm not saying you haven't or I haven't. We all have gone through our stuff. But like, if we have the chance to be living and making things happen, then like, if you're interested, try it, see what happens. And that's what kind of went with me with comedy and media. And going back to like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, I kind of dived into different stuff and learned different trades because one, wanted to save money, but two was also just like to be versatile. Like, I could do works in graphic design and media and photography, videography and acting and performance and spoken word. I got a knack for that. And then even behind the scenes with editing and producing and doing all the technical work and all the production work. Like, I have that background there and I enjoy that a lot. I love both sides of it. So, for me, if I just found it interesting, I just wanted to do it. Whether it be my books, whether it be the world record, whether it be a TED Talk, whether it be my card game, whether it be all my different stuff. So,
right, and not also to get super philosophical, but we do fortunately have the privilege to live in a country and to be in a space where you can try these things freely, not to in any way play a victim in these things.
Sure.
But I did from a young age start working because I wanted to, because I like shmoney.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? And I started working from a very young age, and I got to the point where like I overworked myself, right? So I was working, I don't even know how many hours a week, and going to school because I had to go to school. I wasn't going to let up, a career just to work at the mall. And you find that you lose yourself. Like those years of my life, I did not partake in any hobbies that I liked. I didn't really follow any dreams. I was just kind of living day to day, like, okay, I have a shift today, I have to go to school, I have to have a shift, I have to go to school. And when I finally started doing stuff like the Senior Citizen podcast, stuff like the interviews that I get to do for my job, that, like to me, that's the biggest blessing that I've had in my career.
So far.
Mm-hmm. And now that I'm partaking in modeling and actually trying to take it a little bit more seriously and opening and doing a portfolio and stuff, like I look back at myself when I couldn't do all those things because I filled up my schedule with things that weren't as important or as fulfilling. And I'm just happy that I can do the things that I love now without, thinking, oh, I have another shift or I have another. I'm seriously just enjoying life. And I think that's what you're trying to get at too. Like you I don't know your hardships. Everybody's had their own hardships, their own personal battles and struggles, but you are living your dream, whatever it looks like, whether it be straws in hair or wrestling.
Or both,
Or both. You can do both.
I could.
What if you set a record for wrestling with the most amount of straws in your hair?
I'm going to talk to Guinness. Hey, Guinness, do you want to break that? You want to document that? I just got to fill out the paperwork. It's actually a lot easier than you think to actually do the record.
Really?
Yeah, it's really just an application process. And then if the record is available, you just submit an attempt to do it, and then you can either film it or have someone fly down, which I don't recommend flying down unless you have the money, because at the time when I did it, it was over $5,000 because it's the whole process. Filming's a lot cheaper, easier. You don't even have to pay, so it's nice. So the process is a lot easier. And then if it's a record that's like brand new, you can create the first version of said record.
Right.
If it gets approved, then it's fair game.
Right.
Yeah.
So wrestling match with the most amount of straws in your hair. That is the next record. I will film it for you.
Okay. Thank you. We got the whole studio for it.
The last guest just talked about how much he liked wrestling as a kid, and his music video was all wrestling.
Oh,
so
was it?
we can call him
Yeah.
Ayo Dylan.
Yo.
That's his artist name. And I need you to come wrestle with my dude over here to break a world record.
Let's go.
He could also put straws in his hair.
Oh, we could do it together. Tag team wrestling match.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's going to be fantastic.
Fantastic. I would love it. I will go back and train for a little bit and take some bumps and go for it again. High respect for those that are in that industry. It is not an easy industry, and like it's not for everybody, but I loved it when I did do it for a little bit. And you never say never if I can train my body, because my mind loves it. It's my body. Everything hurts.
Oh yeah, no. Once you're
pain.
past like 24, I
Yeah.
think everything just hurts that much more.
Yeah. I don't recommend getting older.
I don't. No, that is not on the to-do list. Just freeze where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. If you can get like what is it, Batman and like was it Mr. Freeze, like freeze way, and just like freeze yourself for a bit.
That's it. That's the move.
Yeah.
That's Okay, so.
Okay. What would you like to ask me?
Promoting I want to promote your services because like I've mentioned already on this podcast, I like the way that you take pictures. I like the way that you work with people. Even if it's not working with you, what should, bands or artists look for in a photographer? What do you think is the easiest way to find them? They can all just book you if you want to promote yourself.
Yes, you can book me right now. You can see I don't know if we could put a link or whatever. I don't want to cause anything with the editors, but like my information will be somewhere. You can book me at srafferty.com. Go to the contact page, send an inquiry for bookings, and you can book me there. But whether you go with me or go with any other talented photographer, I think you want to find a photographer that clicks with you and clicks with your style and vision. It doesn't have to be exactly, but it should be someone that has an expertise in your area. Like, not saying you couldn't, but let's say you're a wedding photographer and you're shooting bands. Not saying you can. There's plenty that do it, but some maybe specialize in that. So if it doesn't fit what you're looking for, same thing with music. Maybe you want a photographer that just shoots for like heavy metal, for example, as opposed to like pop punk, So like kind of finding with that. If you're trying to find someone, social media is now easier than ever. You can literally do a search on social media and look for like photographers in your local area. You can even hyper search it and filter what like rock photographers or like pop punk photographers. You can even just do a Google search there. TikTok's another one too. Like it's very heavy social about it, especially for photography and creative services there. With the minus of just, clicking and trying to find someone that gels, I think trying to find a photographer that kind of vibes within your kind of works, and one that is professional and comfortable and that's reliable.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of talent that are incredibly talented and they have, I would say, even better photos than myself. But what sets me apart to other photographers is one, my versatility, but also just like the amount of consistency. Like when we work together and do our photos, and maybe we can put this on display, I'm not sure, but like we've done a variety of different shoots. But when I send your photos, I send it to you pretty quickly.
Oh, you're the first one.
Yeah.
It's always at photography events. If anybody has any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me on the podcast page or on my personal. But yes, you are usually the first one to send out a link, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And it's not about like this having like the fast deliverables, but like if you're going to, let's say you work with a talent and you submit your photos and videos and all your stuff, right? But like it's been like 3 weeks or 5 weeks and there's no answer and no communication, like that's gonna hurt you. And there's so many photographers or just media professionals that just do stuff like that. And it's like, I don't get it. You spend an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or however long you do with the shoot, and then you don't give the talent the work that you created?
Yeah.
Like,
that's
why?
hurting everybody involved at that point.
Exactly. You just wasted your time, their time, like everyone's time gets wasted, and then everyone just loses respect, and then boom, you're not gonna be able to get work again for that particular person.
Yeah, and that actually did happen to me a couple years ago, where I did like a mermaid photo shoot, which was a gift that my boyfriend got for me, and the photographer morning of was like, "Oh, my camera broke." And then she's like, "But I can shoot it on my phone." And I mean, I was already like at the place. So I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And she still charged the same price for a phone photo shoot with terrible pictures. I will slander this person. I don't remember their name right now. And then they didn't even want to send me the images after taking my boyfriend's money. So that's a red flag. That's the biggest red flag.
Oh, we're getting to the red flag questions now. That's a big red flag right there. That's a photo red flag right there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. This was a couple years ago. I'm not even sure if this person is still in this business, but like it's so frustrating to put your time, effort, energy. I'm a makeup artist. I only do my own makeup at the moment because I just don't have time or supplies to do other people's. Mm-hmm. But for me to sit down, work on my makeup, work on the look, obviously styling was done for that one, but I style all of my own shoots, and then to not get the pictures back, one, in a timely manner without me having to hunt you down, is so frustrating.
It is.
I don't want to slander people on here, so I'm just going to go back to the creative side of this. So when you work with people, obviously you're reliable, you're timely. Usually when I do shoots as well, I like to bring like an idea board, like a mood board from Pinterest. How do you go about when somebody brings you that to make it your own instead of just copying what we're seeing?
Great question. I love when talent bring their ideas and mood board. And this goes back to like the pre-production. So I always say, if we're working on a one-on-one, hey, if you have any inspirations of your ideas, please send it to me. Send me some screenshots, what you're thinking of. I'm going to use one example. There's a talent. Her name is Monica Roldan. She's an amazing model. I love working with her. And we just recently did a shoot that was a 50s inspired like pinup kind of shoot.
I saw it.
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's very nice.
Thank you. I love how that came out, and it actually got some magazine press, which was pretty cool. But when we did the production of it, is that we both brainstormed ideas to get certain looks, poses, styles, aesthetics, and we worked around, and once we figured out what our idea was, we try to look at locations. We try to find a location that fits the vibe of what we're trying to do. And then during the shoot, we'll have heavy influence on it, but we have to make it distinct enough that it's our own thing, both as the model posing and also for myself as the photographer. Mm-hmm. So I take a lot of influences there, but I try to make it my own. And how to make it my own is I'll shoot it in certain angles, or I'll shoot it with certain types of lenses, or I'll just think creative with different types of props that are not necessarily shown in the original images, but stuff we could play around with. I really like that process of having that level of creativity because it lets me kind of think outside the box while also trying to be within the parameters of like what the intentions were. And it goes back to communication. Like you have to have that constant communication with your talent and learning back and forth and trying to feed off them and just trying to click and trying to build that chemistry.
Right.
So with her, we worked really well, and just with yourself too. Like every time I've done photos for you, and not to toot my own horn or toot your own horn, like we just have a really well in-depth chemistry. Like we just are very in synchronous with each other when it comes to photos.
I think we get the same vision for the most
part, yeah.
Because you have a good idea of composition when you're doing photos, and that's also what I'm constantly thinking about. As aside from just posing, it's just what is this final image going to look like? What do I have behind me? What am I playing with? And yes, we are usually like on the same wavelength. It's weird. It's like you enter like a trance, and it's like, okay, we're tag team wrestling. You go in.
Yes, it's like boom. There you go.
But no, I love that perspective, using different lenses and just props and maybe to like dress it up and make it your own. Because sometimes I find myself looking at inspiration and thinking I want to do that same exact picture. But then it's like, what's the fun in that, you know?
And I don't tell, and when people say that, I say, I don't want the same exact picture. I want the best photo that fits what we're both looking for.
Exactly.
And I tell talent, the more you're excited to work, not just with me, but also to work on photos, the better the photo is going to come out. Because if you're coming in and I play around with you and I work with you and it's like, I don't really feel this, it's going to show in the photos.
Yes.
It's going to show how unhappy or dissatisfied or whatever you're thinking, instead of just being joyful, engaged, and just excited to work with it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the advice.
No
We're
problem.
going to jump into some Reddit advice really quick.
Oh, okay.
To close out the episode. No red flags this episode.
Okay, it's just Stephen versus Reddit. Could possibly go wrong.
Stephen versus Reddit.
Let's
Well,
go.
Okay. I feel like I'm doing life in a crap way. This is a 27-year-old male, and I guess their girlfriend is a 27-year-old female.
Okay.
It says, I'm 27. I'm turning 28 next month. I feel like I'm just doing this all wrong. I've recently got a new job at a Big Four as a consultant, which is poor dude. And for a while I was excited, but now I don't really know. Coding is fun for the most part, but most of my time is spent in the office. I have no girlfriend. I spend my spare time at the gym playing rugby. There's people out there who are rock stars, pro athletes, traveling the world, things like that. I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. I guess so it's like I can buy a house, but then what? And I'd travel, but it's not lifestyle that I really want. I feel like life is to experience new things, meet a partner, explore, be physically active. And most of the time I'm sitting at a desk fighting against getting fat, even though I love sports and fitness. What am I doing here?
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
And I think we did answer some of it throughout the actual conversation too, but...
Ooh, I mean, my guy, man, what's going on? He needs like a hug or something just to start off with, man. I think he needs to kind of do like a soul searching a little bit and like kind of like a life audit and consulting pending, you know? He needs to look at himself in the mirror first off and say like, okay, I have all these things going for me right now, and maybe this is not what I want to do, but how do I get to the things that I actually want to do? And like, how can I build that and kind of build goal setting with it? I'm very goal oriented, and I'm very habit driven, because for me, when I'm working on stuff or trying to create something, I try to have a plan and action. And yes, the plan's going to get messed up or things are going to happen, whatever. But like, if I'm consistent to the idea, eventually results are going to come from it. So for me, I mean, from what you just told me, he's got a lot going for himself. It may not be ideal, but like, he can just look at himself right there and be like, okay, this is not what I want to be right now, but I'm going to use this to pivot to do the things that I actually want to do. He has an income. He's hopefully he's in a good relationship. I hope so. I'm not sure.
It sounded like he's single.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, eventually he will, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with being single, and I think maybe he needs to work on himself before he even jumps in any relationships there. So let's focus on the self, focus on the hombre, focus on the guy, you know. He needs to figure out what he wants to do. Once he figures out what he wants to do, he needs to put the initiatives and the steps to do those things and to enjoy the ride and experience that comes with it. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time.
Yeah.
But his advantage is that he's relatively young and he's got stable, you know, income. hopefully. He seems like he has things going for him. He just needs to put himself in a different environment / different light. A lot of it's mental.
Yeah, and I mean, from the job that he has as a consultant at a Big Four or something like that, and I just know from personal experience, my boyfriend who worked at the Big Four, and he's an accountant, it was absolutely soul-sucking, and he, at some point, was just like, I have to quit. He quit his job without having anything else lined up because he was just depressed from how awful it was. So that is definitely probably their biggest issue, and I'm not telling them to quit their job.
Me
but
either.
you do have to balance out, like, how important is money to me and how important is my mental health, my physical health, and all the things that I want in life, because life isn't just a paycheck and buying a house. It's all the little experiences along the way that are fulfilling. And I mean, Big Four is just totally, I'm anti-work when it comes to Big Four, because it's not like you even have a normal work schedule. It is like you are locked up working for so many hours a day in front of a desk that it's like it's not even worth it at this point.
Yeah.
Because I'm super anti-work. Like, if I can't have a job that lets me balance out my social and my personal life, then I just can't do that job.
But you see, at least you have that value right off the bat. Like,
yes.
this is what he needs to figure out.
But
there.
that's something that took me so many years to learn and figure out.
Sure.
And it's not something that now I value it, whereas before it was like, I don't have the biggest paycheck. But now it's like, I don't have the biggest paycheck, but I have a flexibility with my job and my personal life that I value way more than any amount of money.
Absolutely. Do you want to be, a millionaire that's miserable, or do you want to be making, like 75 to 100 just as a number, but you're enjoying life?
Exactly.
And you're experiencing life? And I think he definitely needs a career / life audit and just needs to pivot himself. I don't encourage quitting, because whether you don't want to be in that anymore, you don't want to burn bridges, number one, but number two, like, that is income stable for now just to have. And I'm going to say this, I personally do not like the term starving artist. Yes, I understand the creativity, and you can be very creative in doing stuff. But I also feel like there's a way to kind of lean off your corporate and move into the creative, as opposed to just completely going headstrong, because so many artists do that, and then they get into a financial debt, number one, and then they get into a professional debt, which causes a lot of creativity issues, in my personal opinion. So I think at least he realized he has issues, and he's hopefully trying to reach out to try to get answers to that. But once he kind of figures himself out, and that's a loaded question. Everyone's figuring himself out.
Super loaded.
Yeah, that's very loaded. But like, if he starts working on that, I think he's going to be able to change his life around in the way that he wants it to be.
Yeah, and I think that cutting cold turkey is definitely like a result of burnout. But that was great advice. He definitely just needs a hug to start off with.
Yeah.
And someone, I don't know, like pat his head and comfort, because it sounds absolutely miserable. But if you've been in an experience and you work near that, you know that it's just absolutely soul-sucking.
Oh, I know. I worked 70 hours in a 40, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I know that feeling.
We've a lot of us have been through it. But yeah, this is your shameless plug moment. Go ahead and promote anything you need to promote to that camera right there. Okay. It is all yours.
So, if you want to check out my website, srafferty.com, that's cool. If you want to check out my social media, that's cool. If you want to check out all my media projects and learn about my history of what I've done over the years, it's all on the website, which is pretty cool. I just want to say, I don't really want to plug too much, because honestly, I just want to say thank you for just letting me be a part of the podcast. I've been watching episodes since we've met earlier. What is it? It hasn't even been a year yet, has it? Oh my goodness, that's wild. That's wild. But I love working with Vicky. She's incredible to work with. I love working with her and her team, and I'm just really grateful for the opportunity. And if you're a creative or someone that's trying to work in the media industry, if you want to reach out, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help or support and try to help with young minds and talent trying to get into their business. Just live your life, do what the best you want to do what you want to do, and enjoy your day. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Or night. Or 3 in the morning.
Oh, you took my line. Actually, I have one more thing to plug really quickly. These are questions. Watch Vicky's episode. I have a podcast, and one of my 20,000 different things. These are questions. She was part of season 7 with the latest season. So check out her this episode, my episode. Check out all the episodes, everything, all at once when you have a chance. So and just thanks for everything.
Steven, thank you so much for coming out. You guys make sure to go follow Steven if you need any sort of creative project done. If it's not him doing it, I'm sure he could refer you someone who would do an amazing job as well. If you bands, you need promos, whatever it is. And yeah, make sure to check out These Are Questions. It's a super fun podcast highlighting other creatives in the community. I was on season 7. Watch whatever episode toots your horn. And we'll see each other next week for the Senior Citizen Podcast.
We did it, everyone.
Yay!
Enjoy your day. You're watching the Senior Citizen Podcast.